עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. כשעסקנו בתפילה, חציתם את התעלה, כשעליתם שוב בהר, לא חשבתם על מחר. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. אין מנוס ואין מפלט, אין לכם פשוט ברירה, אין תקווה ואין מקלט, אין כבר דרך חזרה. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. ברמה ובמדבר, באמצע יום הכיפורים, באתם בתרועת שופר, אך יצאתם בשברים. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם. זה יום הדין, זה יום הדין, אללה לא עוזר לכם, צה"ל שוב מכה בכם.
Were you surprised to see Syrian tanks so close to your unit?
Well, that was a surprise because they surprised us because we were not ready for the fight, but because it was a holiday for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't make a surprise like they did today.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар. Байрактар. Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 637 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And Ukraine is smacking butt today. Let's go.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. And we've been getting some very big news from both the area of Avdiivka as well as the area around Kherson, as Ukrainian forces have been able to rapidly move forward and take over a couple of villages in the Kherson area over the past 24 hours. And not only that, we have also seen that the Russians are starting to use a brand new strategy in the area of Avdiivka to try and make some kind of ground or some kind of gains in that offensive. Of course, we're going to be covering all of this here on stream, and not only that, a shocker to some, we are actually going to be covering the Middle East news again tonight. Last night, at the beginning of the stream, we were talking about how YouTube is potentially curbing our viewership and a whole bunch of other things because of our coverage of this news, but many of y'all were very adamant that y'all wanted to hear us continue to talk about that news that is currently going on in the Middle East, particularly within Israel and the militant groups they're fighting against. We will be ensuring that coverage does continue, but we hope that all of y'all make sure to spread the news of our channel, make sure to share the information of what our channel does with everyone you can, because otherwise we're probably not going to be getting a lot of promotion by YouTube beyond this point. And also, I have to thank you all in advance once again for y'all's support to this channel through the super chats and making sure that we are able to keep this thing running, because if it wasn't for y'all doing that, we wouldn't be able to have a job. And especially now that we're entering some very risky waters as far as what YouTube approves and disapproves of, y'all's support is the only thing that will be able to keep this channel running. And so thank y'all in advance for that, and thank y'all for always being behind us and backing us up every single step of the way as we continue to try and provide y'all with the news around the world that many people do not share with y'all. But moving on into the first bits of news of the night, we did get to see some video footage coming out of Ukrainian forces moving forward and being greeted by Ukrainian villagers that have been under Russian occupation for nearly a year and a half. We can see them walking through this village here on the southern side of the Dnieper River, or the left bank of the Dnieper River, as they now greet some Ukrainian villagers after they've liberated their village. It appears that Russian forces retreated from this village at some point, and the Ukrainians were able to walk in without taking any resistance. Sadly, however, we don't know the exact name of this village due to operational security reasons. But we do know that Ukrainian forces now control it and have liberated it from the Russian forces. With that, that's the end of the clip, but very nice to see that the Ukrainians were able to take themselves a little village. Moving on from that and into the area of Krinky, we also get to see that a new kind of FPV drone has been used in the area of Krinky. This was apparently used by the Ukrainians and has a 4-kilogram warhead attached to it. That's roughly about 15 pounds of explosives. Here's the clip. Alright, that's heavily copyrighted.
That is so copyrighted, man. That gave me a heart attack.
And we can see the drone flying on into the window. And anyone want a home makeover? Hey, look, we renovated the wall.
The window frame came out in one solid piece. I love it.
Man, you know someone's going to come by and be like, man, I could sell that for like a tree fitty. But anyways, with that, that's the end of the clip. Really nice to see. And we're now going to be moving on from that little clip in Krinky and on into the area of Ohleski, where we got to see that a Russian checkpoint was also destroyed in this area as well. And we're going to be muting the music because it sounds like smooth jazz, and smooth jazz usually has a smooth copyright attached to it.
Also, thank you for hitting the like, by the way. We're almost to 700 already, this early in the stream.
And make sure to hit that like button. It does help us out greatly. And we can see the drone going through multiple instant replays, showing the Russian outpost getting hit. Wait a minute. Hold up. Is that the flag of Chechnya? It looks a lot like the flag of Chechnya. Let's give it a check. Flag of Chechnya. Oh? Are these Kadarov's boys? I think these might be Kadarov's boys, because here is the flag of the Chechnya. Of course, there are several of them. I'll put that out there. But this looks a lot like that flag that we see right there. The green, the white stripe, and then the red. Looks a lot like it. Might be a match. Who's to say?
Bring on Kadarov's boys. Maybe they can hold up a machine gun, Bliat, unlike the other man, Don.
Don, my heart is about to explode, Don, from holding this machine gun, Don. I can't handle it much longer, Don.
But that's the end of that clip. And nice to see that apparently we were getting a little bit of a better idea of where Kadarov's boys have been, because they're apparently now in the area of the Kherson Oblast, or at least some Chechens or Kadyrovite Chechens are in that area, although we don't really know if they're a part of the Akhmat. But moving on from that and into the area of Berislav, we also saw that the Russians ended up using 28 bombs against a town. The town was actually called Berislav, which is the one we're looking at right now. We see the Ukrainian first responders have arrived at the scene, trying to make sure to help out anyone who was wounded and also recover anyone who may have been killed in the attack. But we can see that the damage caused by the 28 Russian bombs that landed on this town was quite significant, once again showing that the Russians are targeting civilian infrastructure clearly for no other reason rather than they can. It's very saddening to see this kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll see that the Ukrainians are able to respond to this and hold the Russian forces on the other side of the canal, or more so the small stream that's in this area right now, accountable for the crimes that they just committed. But we don't really know. Moving on from that, however, you know, something that we talk about a lot, and we don't really have a lot of backup for, in all honesty, is Ukrainian casualty reports. Many people always talk about, you know, these casualty reports are estimates, and in all honesty, those people are absolutely right. There are usually estimates that are put out by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense on what their officers and forces in the field have reported as the amount of losses they were able to inflict on Russian forces. So we never really know exactly how accurate it is. It could be accurate by, say, 50 people, give or take, more or less, each and every day. But we got a very good indicator of how bad the war is going as far as Russian casualties, based off of a very interesting thing that we saw in a small Russian village today. This is a monument that has been set up inside of a cemetery in a very small village. We don't get the name of the village, but we do get to see that they actually listed the most recent or the more modern conflicts that the Soviet Union and the Russian Federation were involved in. And here are the stats. First off, we have Afghanistan. Many of y'all might be able to get the idea of what Afghanistan is. That's Afghanistan. And we can see that that Krister was the only guy in this village who died in Afghanistan. The next war, what is this, Matthew? What does this word say right here?
Man, I couldn't begin to tell you what it says. It says 4E, 4H, backwards R.
So really quickly, I'll tell y'all how to read this. This weird little upside down H is actually the ch sound, like Chernobyl. You know, think of that sound at the beginning of Chernobyl. That little letter makes that sound, and so you go, and then the E is just the E. Then you have the little ch sound again, and then the H. Believe it or not, Matthew, what does the H stand for?
H?
It's actually the N letter in the Cyrillic alphabet.
Oh, damn.
And then this
I was supposed to know that.
And then this backwards R. Do you know what that is?
No.
That's the I letter. And so when we put this together, it says Chechnya. Chechnya. It's the Chechen War. It's both of them, actually. They compile both of them here on the slate into just one category, Chechnya. And we can see that only 3 guys died in all 2 Chechen wars. 2 guys appear to have died sometime in the first Chechen war. Actually, only 1 guy appears to have actually died in the first Chechen war. And then the other 2 guys appear to have died over about the 9-year stint that the second Chechen war lasted. 1 guy was really unlucky. He just died literally at the very beginning of the second Chechen war. And then the next guy, he died about 2 years before it was going to end, around 2008, 2009. But what's more important is that we can see down here that this one is a very long name. It's not Afghanistan, and it's not Chechnya, and it doesn't actually say the specific name of a country. But if we read it, it says Specjalny, I believe, Boynai Operacji. And I'm butchering that so badly because I don't really speak Russian fluently or well. I can just kind of read Cyrillic a little bit. But what this says is special war or military. It's more so war because Boynya is the word for war in Russian. And then it says operation. So what this says is special military operation, and that means that all of the people that are below this list have died in Ukraine. And so look at how many guys have ended up dying there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. From this small village, 13 guys have died in the war in Ukraine, compared to 1 guy who died in Afghanistan, 3 guys that died in both Chechen wars. 13 villagers have died in the Ukrainian war alone that has only lasted about a year and 9 months at this point. It's almost 10 months, but a year and 9 months is what we're going to say. And think about this. I got to put this out there because when you really start to think about this deeply, it's shocking. The Chechen wars combined lasted for about 9 years, and only 3 guys from this village died in what was a 9-year war. Afghanistan lasted for 10, and only 1 guy from this village died in a 10-year war. The war in Ukraine has only lasted a year and 9 months, and they've already lost 13 guys in this single village from a year and 9 months long war. That tells you how bad of a meat grinder Ukraine really is compared to all of the wars that Russia and the Soviet Union fought before this one. This is
And
gonna
also,
be.
if that's what the Russians are saying that they're losing on their sign right here, you can probably multiply that a couple of times because they lie about their casualties all the time.
Well, it's pretty easy to lie on the national level, but on a village level like this, it would be really hard to, erase the existence of several villagers that everybody knew and just have them quietly buried there in unmarked graves. So I have a feeling that
It can happen.
I mean, it could happen. The Russians are not beyond that. Let's just look at the purges. But I have a feeling that this actual report on this slate is fairly accurate to what the Russians really have lost in Ukraine. It's still shocking, though, how many people they've lost in a year and 9 months just in this one village. And think this is being repeated in every single village in Russia several thousand times over, and even in the major cities as well. The losses from the wars in Afghanistan and Chechnya are getting nowhere close to what the losses in the war in Ukraine are. It's a massive war. And so moving on from that little bit, we did see that while the Russians are having a little bit of a sad moment, when it comes to how many Russians are being lost so needlessly in a senseless war, we did see in this little town just to the east of the major city of Kazan by about 30 miles that some Russian military personnel ended up doing something that I have to admit was pretty sick. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Usually we crap on the Russians. This was actually pretty impressive stuff. But here's the clip. So here we go. My boy!
Oh, Vadim, he's coming around the corner sideways. Oh, look at him go. Oh my God.
Oh, that is
can't
sick.
drift a truck, man. Come on.
Oh my lord, they tried to drift the freaking Kamaz and it flipped over. But look, dude, I gotta admit though, while they absolutely face planted the Kamaz, they did do a sick drift with that Lada. Just look at this. I mean, holy moly. Dude, they were sliding. They were literally just sliding on by at like 15 miles an hour.
They were.
Man, that was...
before the war broke out, there used to be all kinds of videos coming out of like Russians drifting right through the middle of Moscow. Like that was constantly coming out. Like corrupt people paying off the police to be able to go drift through the middle of the city. Like you don't see that anymore because there's a war going on. But they're actually decent drifters, even though they suck at war.
Dude, they might be decent drifters, but I think they tried to fly a little bit too close to the sun with this one. Because trying to drift a Kamaz in the snow, that's a disaster. Just look at this.
Oh my God.
Dude, it's like it hit a rock. It's like it just stopped dead in its drift. Watch. Dude, the truck just realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to drift. And then it just flipped itself over just out of the blue. Like, look, I just watch. Like, its forward momentum just stopped it on a dime on the middle of a perfectly smooth roundabout.
Man, they're gonna have to like call in some heavy equipment to like make that thing go back upright again. That thing's heavy as hell.
Also, by the way, Matthew, did you hear Patrick Starr's screaming in the background in that clip? Listen to it again. Did you hear it? Right there. Right there.
Yes.
Dude, he went, whoa! 1 second. Hold up. I gotta get you all the sound bit because that sounded just like it. Patrick Starr scream. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get it. I think this is it. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Let me go and play this again and then listen to this. Okay.
It's close.
Dude, it's too close. I think that's dead on. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, nice to see some sick drifts. Nice to see. And by the way, y'all, I got this wrong. This actually isn't the Kamaz. This is based on a Typhoon chassis. So it's actually more advanced and more expensive truck than a Kamaz. But they flipped the thing clean over in the middle of a roundabout out here. But moving on.
This Russian's about to yell out, "Excuse me, Bliat man, is mayonnaise an instrument?" I'd be like, no, Bliat man, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Dude. Dude, he's about to say, "Whoever's out in the parking lot, you left your lights on." And then he's gonna start walking back. You're gonna hear, You know the scene I'm talking about?
Yes, I think so.
But anyways, moving on from the Russian news, we're really quickly going to hop over to the United States just for a quick moment, because I know many of y'all heard about this today, and while it's not the Ukraine news, I will give a little bit of time to it. There was apparently some kind of an explosion at the Niagara Falls border crossing today. It was captured on film, and I believe Nexta has that footage right here on security camera. Really clearly, to clear the air, it was not a terrorist attack. From what we understand, the car just spontaneously combusted. But I think there was some kind of a mention of explosives being found somewhere near the border. But we can see the clip right here. We can see the car explode over there in the corner. And that's the end of the clip. Very bizarre occurrence. The border was closed today, at least at the Niagara Falls border crossing, and I believe that the United States Border Service is starting to launch an official investigation into what happened in that incident. But moving on from that, and just to be clear right now at the moment, it's not being labeled as a terrorist attack. They may change that label later on and say it is a terrorist attack, but the official statements at the moment is that it is not a terrorist attack. Of course, though, I have to let you all know that the United States has a tendency of downplaying something until about 2 or 3 days later, and then they come out and they actually level with everyone and tell them what really happened, like they do in the Middle East with the airstrikes going on out there. So we don't know if this is a terrorist attack at the moment, but we'll be waiting for another 2 to 3 days to see if their statements change and they say it was a terrorist attack or if it wasn't. But we're now going to be moving on from that quick little tidbit of news in the United States and getting back on into the news of the war in Ukraine. Big news is that the Ukrainians were able to shoot down 14 Shahed 136 drones overnight. A very good report. And of course, beautiful to know that the Ukrainian air defense is still working as hard as they can, because they didn't just shoot down 14 out of 16, or just a large majority of them. They shot down all of them that flew into Ukrainian airspace over the past 24 hours. A very successful night by the Ukrainian air defense, and hopefully we'll be able to see that this becomes a norm as far as the Ukrainian air defense goes. But moving on from that little bit of news, and on into our next bit, especially in our location unknowns, we got a lot of stuff that is especially interesting in the location unknowns. Especially this Lada, which had an especially marked Z on top of the especially blackened roof, and it appears that the Ukrainians were able to especially target this thing and destroy it. I'm trying to use the word especially as much as I can, because I bet with someone tonight that I would get $20 if I was able to say especially enough, and I think I did it. Chad music ensues. There's their Lada, where you see it driving down the road, and look at that. The Lada design is beautiful, Matthew. You know why it's beautiful?
Because it looks like a box on wheels?
Exactly, but most importantly, it's got this giant rear window that a drone can easily bust through and then blow up inside. It's a perfect design. Oh!
Lovely.
And,
it didn't quite get the window, but close enough.
Oh!
Oh, he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The devil.
Dude, the explosion it was so strong. It's like a cartoon car. It's like the whole thing just fell apart into pieces as soon as it got hit. Look. The doors blow open, like the fenders are falling off. Oh, it looks like they lost the rear axle right there. But that's the end of the clip. And I gotta tell y'all, I think that one's going into warranty work for a little while. But moving on from that one and into our next clip, we also got to see the aftermath of that HIMARS strike we saw yesterday. It appears that it busted through the roof just a little bit, but more so on the stage. And it looks like a HIMARS strike directly hit on top of the stage. From what we understand, most people on the stage had already fled the building at this point when the missile hit. So from what we know, nobody was injured that was on the stage in the video from yesterday. And moving on to our final picture, we can see an outside view of the building where we can see that the HIMARS strike did cause some significant damage and probably knocked this out for the Russians being able to use this from here forward. But as we all know, it is very interesting to see these kinds of damages and losses being inflicted onto the Russians. And Matthew, if this was a tort, what would it be?
It would be battery.
Man, they be battery.
Negligence.
Man, it would be straight up negligence. The Russians should have known that that missile was going to come through the top of the building. they had a duty of care, Matthew.
Except this is a war zone, so the duty is not the same.
Oh, you're going to get all philosophical on my ass? But anyways.
You wanted it, you got it.
Man, dude, you said that like a gangster. You wanted it, but you gonna get it. But anyways, moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see a rare sighting of the Ukrainians using one of their S-300 batteries against the Russians. Gotta admit, it's a little bit of an older air defense system, but it's really cool to watch these things shoot their missiles out of the mobile silo. So here's the clip.
That works just like those ST's rockets.
Dude, that thing sat there, and when it was in flight, dude, that thing turned into Vladimir Lenin. He said, call this thing NASCAR, because we turned this bitch left. Look at that. Dude, that thing like literally took like a 20G turn in like 2 seconds. Pretty wild. But anyways, we're going to be moving on from that and on into our next clip, where we also got to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours.
Oh, let's go! They got
happened.
11:05 now. They got 7 more Bobcats. I love to see it. Love to see it.
It happened, Matthew. It finally happened. They passed 1,100 Bobcat skid steers. How do you feel?
I feel great. I gotta say, I dig it.
Man, he be digging it, and it be getting all schwibby up in here. I don't even know what the hell that word means, but 7 Bobcat skid steers destroyed in a day. You know, there was a couple of other minor things that happened, like 850 Russian soldiers getting killed and 14 armored personnel carriers getting destroyed, along with 25 supply trucks, 0 tanks, which was really odd considering that the losses in most other categories were pretty decent today. Apparently the tanks just disappeared from the lines, so I guess they've run out of tanks or something. I don't really, of course they haven't run out of tanks, but according to the casualty report, it looks like they may have run out of tanks. 17 artillery pieces destroyed, 13 drones knocked out, and 1 anti-aircraft system was destroyed. All in all, not a bad day. I mean, it was a pretty good one. We understand, though, that Russian forces are still trying to conduct some kind of a opportunistic action, is the best way I could describe it, in Avdiivka, but most other activities have ceased, so this may just be Ukrainian strikes on Russian lines that are producing these kinds of high casualties. But nevertheless, you all know the catchphrase, we love to see it. And of course we do. We're now going to be moving on from our location unknowns, and we're going to be moving into some of that raw juice, especially in the area of Avdiivka, because this is something that we were originally going to talk about tonight and was our title, but then I decided in the middle of the countdown it's probably better to tell you all about the villages that were liberated in the area of the Dnipro River. It's kind of a little bit of a bigger deal. But we saw something very odd today, and let me oh, excuse me, I don't know what's happening there. But here's the clip. And we're going to break it down and try and explain what we're seeing here, because it's a little odd. So, all right, we're going to mute that. But look at this. This is an explosion that happened under a trench from underground. It wasn't a bomb that hit the trench or anything like that. You can see that all of the explosive force is coming from underground. Now, what is this? There's one answer that we have that seems to be very clear. It appears to have been a tunnel mine, and those are ancient. The last time a tunnel mine was used in any kind of a major way, like this one, would have been World War I. Back in the day, of course, trench warfare was as prominent then as it is now in the war in Ukraine, and many soldiers on both sides had a lot of experience building subway stations, or as people in Britain would call them, the tubes. Or the tube, more so. Not the tubes plural, just the tube. But a lot of them had a lot of tunneling and digging experience, especially building very long tunnels. And, you know, having known a good bit about it, they decided that it would be a little smart to try and implement those trades and that practice on the battlefield. So what they would do is that they would dig these tunnels for a long amount of time. Sometimes they would take weeks, and they would dig the tunnel from their trench over towards the enemy trench. So, you know, say like the Russians' trench, the Ukrainians would dig towards there, or in this instance, the Russians dug a little tunnel towards the Ukrainian trench, and then they would start to dig out a big cavity below the trench, and this thing would just be a giant open pit. They would fill it up with explosives, and then when the time came they would blow up the explosives inside of that little cavity at the end of that tunnel. It would end up blasting away the trench on the other side, and the theory was that the explosion would kill off so many soldiers in that trench, and it would also disorient all of the other ones that were there, because the explosion would be so sudden that it would give the attackers a big advantage, and they'd be able to take over the trench quite easily. It looks as though the Russians tried to implement that strategy today. From what we understand, it wasn't that successful. The Ukrainians did end up quashing the soldiers that pushed into this area, but it is still bizarre because this is the first time that we've ever seen this strategy being used after World War I in any kind of a major way. But we can see the explosion dissipating right there, and we can now see the crater that was left over. And what's really weird, and I gotta say, this was just the wildest part of the clip, is that unlike other times back in World War I, when they would blow up the tunnel mine, and then you would go over the top and then go across no man's land, it appears that the Russians then came through the tunnel that they had dug to place the tunnel mine in the first place. So that was a little wild. That's kind of bizarre, actually, but we can see the Russians coming out of the crater here, and now advancing forward with some kind of a plan. Sadly, we don't really know what kind of a unit this was, whether it's the Naval Infantry, which is the like Black Sea Marines kind of force. We don't know if it's the VDV or the Spetsnaz, but they did come out of this crater with a plan, it appears. We can see some explosions. We can't really tell who started these explosions here. See some soldiers moving around. We now see a squad. This may be the Russian squad moving around. But we really can't see the armbands well enough to tell who's who.
Someone said lemmings.
Lemons!
I guess you could consider them lemmings.
Man, that's what all Ladas are. They're lemons. Oh, great heavens.
They got it.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. No respect. I crawled out of a crater, and then they put me back into one. Oh, man, but it was 6 feet deep. Oh, man, terrible, real bad stuff.
Now, this is a Russian. And
that was a weak toss, by the way. That guy was, like, not too far out of the way of that grenade blast.
Dude, when he threw that thing, he went... But we see them firing wildly into the smoke. You know, Matthew, Renee Love's comment, Lemmings and Lemons, sounds like a great podcast name, you know?
Lemmings?
Lemons and Lemons.
Excuse me.
Damn, bro. Bro, that should be spicy.
I had a sip of that aloe vera drink thing that we got, and that aloe vera just nearly choked the hell out of me while I was talking. I was trying to hold it in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said something, and I had to let it out.
That's what you get for drinking cactus juice, my boy. But
it's
also,
good, though.
I'm not going to lie, that is actually a really good drink. What is it called again, Matthew? Not that we're sponsored by him or anything.
It's called Iberia Aloe Vera Drink. And I hate to admit where I heard it from, but it was that guy who's from Romania that y'all all know. He's notorious now, the Sigma Alpha male guy. He had mentioned something about it, and I was like, that looks kind of interesting. So I tried it, and well, that's actually pretty good. Like, that's the only thing good the guy's ever said.
Man, that drink is better than that guy's jawline looks. I mean, the guy doesn't even have...
Oh, dang.
But anyways, could be moving on from that clip. We could be moving on into a picture where we got to see a Ukrainian soldier standing next to an abandoned Bradley that was missing its track, but it also has the brought armor. And I gotta tell you, you know what's worse than not having brought armor?
Having some?
Bratwurst.
Oh,
yeah. See what I did there? I did a stupid word game, but we can see the Bradley was abandoned in almost intact condition. The only problem with it that we can see is that its track was severed at some point, and it lost it. That was probably something that the crew just decided they didn't have the time to repair, considering it's the middle of the front line, and if they get out of the vehicle and just stand around trying to relink the track, they probably get hit by Russian fire and all get killed, they decided to abandon the vehicle intact. We can still see that the Ukrainians control the area, because we can see a soldier taking a picture with it right here, which means that this Bradley will be recovered and will be repaired so that we can be brought back on the front line service at a later date. But still, pretty interesting to see. Moving on from that, and into our next little bit of news, down in the area of the southern end of Krasnoyarivka, we got to see the 47th Mechanized Brigade firing at some Rossiyski, which means Russian. Dude, let's see here. Are there any monsters in my closet? Opens up the door. Yep, there's monsters in the closet. Let's just close that door. But we can see the Bradley down here, and it's firing off its smoke grenades. I gotta be honest with you, I don't really dig that kind of music. You know, that's just me. But a lot of people like it, so huge respect to him. But we see the Bradley just chewing up this tree line here, like some kind of a rabid dog. And I guess that thing's got that dog in him, or more so that horse with teeth, considering that this is from the 47th Brigade. That horse be going, whoa, Nelly, whoa! But anyways, that's the end of the clip. And nice to see the 47th using their Bradleys to put Russian forces down. We're now going to be moving on from that and watching the Ukrainians use some cluster bombs on these pitiful Russians down here in this area. We can see that the Russian attack had failed. And we can see some Russian infantry right where the mouse cursor is trying to run away, but the cluster bomb got them instead. When life gives you lemons, you get hit with cluster bombs. And it appears that most movement is stopped, except for 1 or 2 people. And with that, that's the end of the clip right there. Very interesting to see them using their cluster bombs very effectively. And we're now going to be moving on into our next clip near Avdiivka, where we got to see a Zizu APC burning. These are Finnish provided, and this is one of the first times that we've ever seen one of these things on fire. It's gone, it won't be forgotten. Of course, the Finnish support has been amazing, considering that they weren't even a NATO member for most of the war, but sadly it does appear that one of their little armored personnel carriers did get hit and catch on fire near the front lines.
На жаль, сьогодні не його день.
Nobody was injured, though. Good news.
Але, слава Богу, всі живі, здорові та цілі.
And with that, that's the end of that clip right there. Very sad to see the Zizu getting burned. But hey, you know what else got burned? Some Russian equipment. And by none other than the 110th Mechanized Brigade. Y'all want to see it, don't you?
Man, if Pac-Man had a stroke, you get this.
Pac-Man, are you okay? Oh God, he having a stroke. But we can see their little emblem there now disappearing, and now we can see the first target of the day.
Also, some bot came in earlier talking about your laugh. They said, "Who laughs like that?" And I said, "You want to see a magic trick?" He said, "Yeah, what is it?" And then I banned him.
You want to see a magic trick?
He fell right for it too.
Man, who laughs like that? Your mother. But we can see the BTR on fire and exploding.
Somebody just fell out of
it wasn't somebody, Matty. It was just a combat pack. But we can see a little command MTLB right here also getting hit. And we see it getting hit again. Second time is the charm. I had to stop you there real quick, Matty. I was like, nah, we did. Oh, look. They've got goodie bags.
Oh, they do?
They do. And now we can see a Russian walking away. It appears he doesn't want a goodie bag. But the Ukrainians
He's like the guy that recommended the aloe vera drink. He's walking away like Sigma Chad.
Look at the Sigmas you've become. But we can see him wandering past the destroyed BTR-60. Ooh. Oh, goodness. He's getting a goodie bag as well now.
See,
Wow.
he was driving along, minding his own business, behaving. It was the speed limit was 30. I was going 90.
That guy said, landmine in the road. But we can see a little MTL. Well, I don't know what that is. It's a command MTLB. It's a command MTLB. I'm just going to tell myself that many times until I get it in my head. But we can see all the Russian APCs destroyed in that area of the tree line. And the 110th Mechanized Brigade is the one who claims the credit. Ooh-ah! And so we're going to be moving on from that little clip. And of course, the Russians haven't really been able to do much in the area of Avdiivka. Let me show you what the past 24 hours looks like. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, my lord. They moved 10 feet. That's big. But beyond that, they haven't really been able to move majorly. You know, they've lost 860 guys in 24 hours, and they only have like 10 meters to show for it. So, not that big of a deal, at least in my opinion, and it's showing that the Russian offensive has largely petered out at this point around Avdiivka. And I bet you all love that phrase, petered out. You know, I use that so much. I never say it's burned out or it's worn out. I always say petered out. I don't know why, and I'm probably going to start changing that because it's gotten a little repetitive sounding to me. But we're now going to be moving out.
Peter, the horse is here.
But anyways, moving on from that area and that quick little thing, we're now going to be moving on up into the area of Taviljanka. And I'm mispronouncing that deliberately, but we can see a Swedish STRV-122 in this area. A fine tank, license built off of the Leopard 2 by Sweden. These are a really interesting main battle tank, because the Swedes provided just a couple of modifications to them that, in my opinion, make them a little bit better than the Leopard 2. A little bit of a hot take, I know, but we saw that they were able to mount the grenade launchers in this nice stylized package on the side of the turret. Not only that, that's really the only visible modification that you can see, but I still think it makes it so much better than the Leopard 2. We're going to be moving on from that and into our next clip, where we got to see an STRV-122 firing at the Russians. There it is. All right.
Damn, somebody said, hit the baseline hard.
How much bass do you want, comrade? I want as much bass to melt a brain. Okay. But we can see that the
I want the speaker to be flopping. Get the speaker flopping.
Dude, the bass is so hard on that one that it's the kind that makes your mirror shake on your car.
Here's a type where those people that like are a bass enthusiast to like put a bass like speaker out there and they'll put some paint in it and turn it up loud.
My neighbors are always listening to loud drumming bass, and they'll keep on, and then turns it on and just starts playing it. But that's the end of the clip. Nice to see the STRV doing its thing out there, just repping the set for Sweden. And we all love Swedish things: Swedish meatballs, Swedish tanks, Swedish fighter jets, Swedish guns. They're all great from top to bottom, and I cannot rep the set enough. We're not sponsored by the nation of Sweden, but if they wanted to sponsor this channel, I mean, I'd actually make an exception for them. We don't take sponsors, but if the entire Swedish national government wanted to sponsor the stream, I mean, I couldn't really turn that down. But anyways,
sponsored by a national government, man, that'd be the next level for YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, we're sponsored by the CIA already. I mean, we finally got the check.
Oh yeah,
we finally got the check. I'm just kidding. We never got a check from the CIA. No. At least that's what we want y'all to think. But moving on.
But they can send us one if they want. We'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, they could. I mean, Anyways, moving on from that, we can see the Ukrainians destroying a Merton M. And look, the Russians were super sneaky. They put it in a tree. Chad music ensues. And we see them finally hit the camera. Took a little bit of navigating, but they got it.
It was at this moment he knew he effed up.
Aw, man. Oh, man, look at that little camera. We love watching the cameras get blown up. We love watching the cameras. The cameras getting blown up. Turn off the lights. You can see the cameras. You can see the cameras going off.
That's not a honey badger. That's a
bear.
A bear. I can't tell what the hell that thing is. I guess it's a bear.
Dude,
he's got some issues.
That thing's the Jurassic Park Bring Alive comeback thing of the tiger bear and everything. It's the lion, tiger, and bear mixed together. When you see that thing, you were like legally required to go, oh my. But anyways, That's the end of that little clip right there while they just slowly pan over like the 280p picture, or more so the 240p picture, but that's the end of the clip. And we're now going to be moving on into the next bit of news, near Crimea, where we got to see that the SBU, which is kind of like the FBI here in the United States, was able to knock out a whole bunch of Russian equipment. First, they knocked out a Russian surveillance site. Second, they then hit another one. Then they hit a, well, let me make sure. That is a Rapira. That was a very long-barreled Rapira. That thing had a snout on it. We can now see...
Boop snoot.
Dude, that thing did not have the boop snoot. That thing has got the schnoz. Look at that.
Ah, that's the droop snoot.
Man, that thing, when you have it on the lines, you go, are there any Ukrainians out here? And this thing sticks its barrel out and goes, no. That thing, you're like, oh, okay. And now we see the next drone coming in and hitting that Rapira again. And now we can see in the last clip, a T-72 getting it good. Kabooey. That's seeing that clip, but great to see the SBU inflicting some miscellaneous casualties in the area of the Kremenna Forest, and once again teaching those Russians, those pesky Russians, that they just don't belong in Ukraine. And so, moving on from that, we're now going to be getting into the area of Bakhmut. Beautiful Bakhmut. It's been a battlefield for over a year at this point, and it's been an active one the entire time. But moving on into the northern area, just near the top of the city, we got to see the Ochi group using their drones on Russian forces. And I really enjoyed seeing it. I hope y'all do too. That sounds like music.
I guess.
Yep.
The same song.
Look, it's a Strela. It's a Strela 10. Very nice. Very nice. It's about to get blown up, though. It's not going to be much more. Why have a lot more when few words do trick? We can see the drone coming on in. And there it is. It's the Strela.
Strela! Oh, they did the nasty on that. They
did the
that
nasty.
One nasty. They did that one nasty.
Whoa. Let's dial that back there a little bit, man. Man, the Ukrainians been pulling them nasty.
I realized halfway through saying that, I'm like, I don't think I got the sequence of the words right on that one. I think I got them mixed up.
Dude, that's like when that gamer dude like sat there. Have you ever seen that clip, Matthew, where he was like playing a game and he sat there and talked about, dude, when that guy got behind me, and then like he sat there and stopped and then he tried to like say it again like 8 times and it got worse each time. Like it's like that. You can see the hitting at UAC and blowing it up. And now you can see a grad. Wait a minute, a Ural. I'm sorry, it was a Ural. Man, the chat be going wild.
I knew after I like took the pause to think about what I just said, I knew it was about to be nasty. Also, they misspelled subscribe right there horribly. Did you see
hold
that?
Up. I didn't see that.
It said subscribers.
Hello, my subscriber. Well, please subscribe and hello to my subscribers. Welcome to the stream. You gotta give it credit, though. You gotta give them credit. They're trying. I say give it credit like it's a monster. You gotta give it credit. But we can see the next FPV drone coming on in. And it's another Ural, but they decided to call this one Automobilna Technika Ural. And also, by the way, I know that many of you all are like, what the hell, why are you singing that? Well, you know what? We're gonna go down a rabbit hole just for a moment real quick, because I gotta get this song. It's not copyrighted, I don't think. I'll check. Let's see. Automobile song. So Russian. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if it's copyrighted. Oh yeah. Let me see if it's copyrighted. Yes, it's not. Okay. So, if y'all are wondering why I went automobile, I'm about to tell y'all why. There was a song that came out in the Soviet Union. I believe it was literally called Automobile. And it was just about cars. Like, it was just about, like, an obsession with any car. As long as it was a car, that was what the song was about. So, here it is. A little funky. It's about to hit the chorus. That's what I was referencing right there.
Automobile.
Dude,
by Matt Automobile.
Dude, the music video is just weird. Like, I'm gonna show like this one. Like, this is the whole thing is just so. Here we go. Here, just watch.
Oh yeah. Look at them go. They even got the headlights flashing.
Soviet music was just the weirdest. But anyways, that's what I was referencing right there when I said automobile. I was referencing that song because I do so many references and I never give context to them. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give a context to that one because otherwise it makes no sense. But automobile. And so they hit the Ural. And so getting back to the actual war rather than the song. Man, AF Kaplan said, cringe. Oh, man, come on. You had to kill it like that?
I mean, it is pretty cringe, though. But I guess in some sick, twisted way, I guess it was art.
That's it. When the cringe is so bad, it circles all the way back around to being, like, ironic art.
How can it be wrong if it's so right?
Man, there's so many responses, different responses to the song. Some people liked it, some people hated it, and some people thought it was just raw cringe. But nevertheless, y'all get the context now behind me going, automobile, whenever that pops up on screen. But we now see them hitting what appeared to be a tank. And, what the hell is that? It's a Ural. It's a Ural, just new font. This one was a Ural, but they gave it the googly eyes because apparently this one was special or something. But it gets blown up like the rest. And another nice guy said the cringe was for the video. Man, I hate that though. I mean, because like to me, it's ironically good. Like it's bad. Yes, it's cringe. But it's so cringe and so stupid that it kind of circles back around to being ironically good, at least to me. And we can see a BMP. Oh, look at that. We're getting on up there now in the kill count. And also, everyone, remember to remind your kids that if you get communism, that's the kind of music you'll be listening to. It's going to be raw garbage, but we can see them knocking out a satellite, or, well, not a satellite, what am I talking about? It's a surveillance post. Oh, look at that. They just gave us a little flip back to normal vision and then night vision. Oh, it's Baba Yaga! We can see Baba Yaga blowing up a trench.
Ah, they got the doo-doo sign out.
Wait, did that just say good night? Dobry not. Yeah, that says good night. It said no good night, and then put a little, like, turd symbol on it. Man, they crap it on the Russians. No good night for you. Blows up your house, like your little outpost down there.
Bed night.
It's another Ural, and it's gone. it's a vehicle. It's a BMP, and it's gone. And it's a Ural, believe it or not. Dude, they have wiped out, like, all the trucks that the Russians had in this area of the front line so far.
You got a lot of BMPs out here.
Man, they be juicing those BMPs, man. They be getting everything out of them that they can. They're like, take that piece of crap and just use it, man. And also, oh, what's this? We got a little bonus clip here. 82 Minomet, which I'm assuming, well, no, actually, it says 82 millimeter Minomet Basselbach.
Ah, that old Basselbach. That's what they needed the whole time.
Vasselbach, I think it is. And I think Vasilek. It's probably like a Vasilek mortar or something like that. I couldn't understand that, though. But anyways, we can see the drone going into it, and that's the end of the clip.
That was a secret weapon the Russians were trying to bring out and hold back the whole time, was that Basselbach. Man, once they bring that out, it's done. It's over.
Man, you wouldn't believe who's manning the Basselbach. Hasselhoff.
They're going to say Bach.
Dude, it's like this season, y'all have heard of Elf on the Shelf, but get ready for Hasselhoff on a Hasselbach. But anyways, moving on from that little bit of news, we're now going to be getting into our next bit in the Bachmann area, where we also got to see an MRAP towing away another damaged MRAP. It's like MRAPception, but here's the clip. And dang, dude, that thing is loud.
That thing is lifted, too. They made that specifically for the Southerners joining the military. Do you want a lifted truck? Hell yeah, let me have 2 of them. Ooh. Ah, that one had it. Some redneck went mudding.
Cletus, give me the Salzal, and then that's what it looks like when he's done. Dude, he went and traded the tire for $50 and a bottle of Jack. But anyways, moving on.
Damn,
from that.
Bobby, that kid ain't right.
Bobby? That boy ain't right. But anyways, moving on from that and down towards Andreevka, we also got to see some wild combat footage. There was a little bit of hat flinging and all kinds of crazy stuff in this clip. Take a look. We can see some Ukraini right there. We can see some Rossiyski right there. They're getting a kick out of this. And whoa. Wow.
Man, that guy sounds like us commenting on the videos.
Man, people are always sitting there, man, these are people. And then meanwhile, the Ukrainians, look at him, look at him. It's like while they're literally watching them do it. But anyways, that's the end of the clip. I'm not going to be able to describe a lot of the clip, but y'all witnessed. Anyways, we're moving on into the area of Orlivka. We got some pictures of the conditions of the trenches in this area, and it's very bad. Look, it's Nestle chocolate milk.
Ugh. Man, that kid from that Willy Wonka movie would be like drowning in that.
Augusto, sweetheart! Don't drink it! But anyways, moving on from that into the next clip, then we got to see the doo-doo water. It's not brown like chocolate water, it's just brown like doo-doo water. Moving on from that, we can see a guy trying to shovel the slush out of the trench. Not going to be successful because, alas, the ground is made of dirt. And then in the last picture, we can see them continuing to try and shovel the slush out. And also, oh look, it's a doggo.
A dog? Where?
Yeah, look, they're right there. Look.
Oh, goodness, man. That's like a haunted dog, like a pig dog or something. Look at that snout. Jeez, man, that's kind of scary.
Man, that thing, when it comes up, it doesn't sniff like, it sniffs like, it's like, damn, son.
That's that thing that was in the window of Amityville Horror House.
It's Jody. It's freaking Jody. But anyways, moving on from that clip, that's the trench conditions in the area of Orlivka right now. And we're now going to be moving a little bit further down and into the area of Losovi, where we got to see a completely destroyed Russian SPG. This is becoming a little bit more common to see, but wow, there's nothing left. I mean, goodness me. Look, that's the engine block.
Damn.
Dude, that's deep. But
I'm trying to soak it all in.
Man, I mean, soak it, man. Soak it like you're not a dish, you're a man. Soak it like that. But anyways, moving on from that and moving on down to the area of Wheelepole, we also got to see some Martyrs and Challengers that were in operation with the 46th Brigade in this area. Look at that Challenger 2. Look at
that pose, though. That dude's really getting it. Look at him. He said, yes, sir, this is my tank.
Man, he said, I am proud of this tank. But also, in the last picture, you see this guy standing next to the snowy Martyr 1A3. Very cool vehicle. Very nice to see and high quality. Moving on from that, it's now time for us to get on into the juice. The raw juice, and nothing but the juice. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for us to talk about what y'all have been talking about. And talk it up in the live chat, y'all. We love to see a lot of people in there in chit-chatting, you know? And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and y'all critters have been talking about a whole bunch of stuff, a whole plethora of different topics, including the occasional troll making fun of the laugh. But anyways, moving on to our next poll here, our first poll actually, it says, do you think anything big will happen on Thanksgiving? 50% said, yes, I'll eat some good food. 23% said, nah, nothing will happen. 14% said, yes, a hostile state will act. And 12% said, unsure. And this was mainly a poll for most of y'all to say you're going to eat some good food, but only 50% said that. I'm kind of shocked. So I hope the rest of y'all are eating something good. And really, I don't think anything's going to happen. That was supposed to be a fun poll, but it turned kind of serious. But Enforcer, what say you?
would say, what the hell was the poll about, man? For some reason, as soon as I started to answer it, it went out of my head.
It said, do you think anything big will happen on Thanksgiving?
Man, me. that's just going to happen that's big is me. I'm going to get bigger, man. I'm going to have to sit there and not wear a belt that day because we're going to be eating like hogs tomorrow. I'll tell you that. You'll be in our house. It'll look like a freaking pig trough. We're going to be up there at that dinner table. And we're going to be like going to town all the way, the full 9 yards. I'm going to be 10 pounds heavier and none the more happier after Thanksgiving. And so with that, I hope that does address that poll well. But the big question is, what are the Russians going to be having for Thanksgiving?
They probably just won't have it. They'll just skip it because they don't have much to think anything for at the moment.
Man, they sit there and go, I'm thankful. For what? I'm leaving.
I'm thankful I still have my stupidity.
I'm thankful for at least being stupid. But anyways, I hope that does address that very well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next poll says, what is your latest assessment of the Ukraine war? 54% said Ukraine is still making ground. 35% said it's a temporary stalemate. 7% said it's a permanent stalemate, meaning the conflict is frozen. And 4% said Russia has begun making ground. And I will say that Russia has not made any ground from what I've seen. It looks like mainly they've maybe gotten a little extra street here and there, but nothing major. But you know, I think it's more of a temporary stalemate than it really is Ukraine making ground. Right now, it's a very tough fight, and the Ukrainian generals themselves have even said that it's pretty much a temporary stalemate. There's nothing wrong with that, and I'm pretty confident that in the future it will change in Ukraine's favor where they start taking mass amounts of ground again. But at the moment, I really don't see that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that, you know, the Russians really aren't making a lot of ground, unless if you count the streets like you talked about to be ground. But then, man, you know, if you consider taking a street to be a massive amount of ground, you would have to be like the Crips or something, because the Crips are the only people who are going to go, man, shit, we took another street. I mean, like, that's nothing big, you know, especially when we're talking about like a 400 to 500 mile long front line. Taking one street over a whole week, that's not really going to get you far in winning this war. So I would be honest, nah, I don't think, you know, this is a big thing. The Ukrainians are also, you know, admitting that it's a temporary stalemate. It's mostly because of the weather conditions, but I have a feeling once the weather improves and we see the ground freeze over here in December, we'll probably start to see some kind of movement of some sort again. We just don't know how much it'll be. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our third poll says, North Korea has begun to deploy troops and equipment to the DMZ, and they've withdrawn from a treaty, a pretty big one. And what are your thoughts? 48% said North Korea is beginning to escalate things. 31% said, it's really just the usual from them. 14% said this seems big, but need more info. And 7% said unsure. And on this one, this is pretty much all sparked by the successful launch of a military spy satellite by North Korea. And this is what's given them the confidence to start acting like a clown. So now they're going to send troops and equipment to the border. Really not sure why they want to do that out of the blue, because all they've added is a way to see from the space. So I don't know why they're sending troops to the border. And also they've withdrawn from a pretty major treaty, which the Enforcer knows a little bit more about than me, so I'll let him explain it. But I'll say that North Korea seems to be escalating things a bit. But Enforcer, what say you?
Whoa, you're about to throw the responsibility to explain the treaty to me?
You've got the treaty. Treat it right.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
All right, so let's talk about North Korea.
I was pretty exaggerated, excuse me.
Moving on into the peninsula, let's talk about everything that's happened from 2018 to right now. You know what? Why say 2023? Y'all know what year we're in. But back in 2018, relationships in between North Korea and South Korea and the United States were improving to a minor degree. And because of that, the North Koreans invited the President of the United States to step across the border, which was a really big deal because no U.S. president or really anyone had ever done that before. And there was a whole bunch of crap that went on with that. Really, that's kind of a sideshow. What was more important, though, was the actual relations in between North and South Korea. And due to the president in charge of South Korea having a pretty friendly attitude towards the North Koreans and an idea of trying to semi-unify the peninsula in a way, again, they were actually able to make a decent amount of progress in demilitarizing the DMZ compared to how militarized it had been in the past. And so they entered a treaty in 2018 that would start to remove a decent amount of the military outposts that South Korea and North Korea had along the DMZ at that time. And that has largely stayed in place, of course, until today. Since the North Koreans have seen some diplomatic changes in the leadership of South Korea, it does appear that they've started to not be as friendly as they were in the past. The South Koreans have also not been as friendly as they were to the South Koreans in the past either. They've started to get a little bit more hostile towards each other again. Many of you all have seen that. And this has led to what we're seeing now. The launch of the military satellite was probably completely detached because that program, from what we understand, has taken years of development and probably began before 2018, so that was going to happen regardless. But the actual revocation of their treaty that they made in 2018 is something that is pretty sudden. Nobody saw that coming. Of course, the relationships are getting worse, but it was kind of a benefit to both South and North Korea that they didn't have so many active outposts along the border, because it did decrease the cost of operating their armed forces, at least to a small degree. But now the North Koreans are dedicating more of their forces onto the DMZ again. That most likely means that South Korea will match them troop for troop along the border, and we're probably going to see that the DMZ enters back into the state it was during the 2000s and the 2010s, or most of the early part of the 2010s. And so with that, hope that does address that well. Pretty interesting. It's not that big of a deal because it's just kind of a return back to status quo before 2018. But it is still a little concerning and a little sad to see that diplomatic relations, or more so peace, is getting a little bit farther away from the Koreas than it was for a few years, at least on the militaristic side of things near the DMZ. Beyond that, though, nothing was really changing even from 2018 to now. Not a lot was changing in the big picture. It was just things like the DMZ. But with that, hope that does address that the best I can and try and explain the situation as best as I know. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, I know the enforcer mentioned that car issue around the New York Canadian border, if I can get it out straight. And it looks like maybe the person was just speeding and they just happened to go airborne and it happened to blow up. Some people were saying that imagine screwing up driving so bad that it gets mistaken as international terrorism. So apparently maybe that's what happened. But seriously, though, I hope the person's okay if it was an accident, because, you know, that looked pretty serious. Is the person good? Do we know?
I have no idea. I didn't even know about that. But Matthew, you know what that made me start thinking about?
What's that?
This isn't your normal border crossing. This isn't your mommy's car. You're listening to crashing, and more crashing. Call it Michael Bay style. You know, it's like one of those radio intros.
Yeah. Damn, son, where'd you find this crash?
Damn, son, Florida. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, well, a lot of people are actually saying, "Oh, yikes!" A lot of people are saying that they actually.
Oh man.
I thought that they may have been injured, but yikes, that's unfortunate to hear. But how the hell do you like speed at like 80 miles an hour into a border checkpoint? Like, there's so many signs.
And there might be more to the story.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit more to it than is being led on at the moment, because speeding that fast that your car is able to explode into a border checkpoint is something that usually doesn't happen around border checkpoints, you know. But anyways, we are on to the next one.
All right, so that was our last poll to address. So with that being said, we're moving on to our Super Chat questions, and our first one is going to go to, are you scared? And no, we are not. But thank you very much for that $100 donation. And thank you very much for that support. And they said, Daddy says, please do not talk so fast. Let's see here.
Wink.
This one's scaring me a little bit. What does this mean? Enforcer, you tell us.
I think I'm getting scared. I think I really am. To answer your question, yes, I am. But if it's not an innuendo and you're actually talking about us talking slower, I wish I could. We can't, though. In all honest truth, because we usually have so much to cover on this show. that if I talk slow, it would take hours to get through this stuff. So I have to kind of talk a little bit fast to get through it. But nevertheless, I do thank you for the massive amount of support. Are you scared? And helping this channel to keep on running. It is folks like you who help this channel to keep on running. And if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep them lights on. And I got to thank you so much once again, because not only are you supporting this channel, you're also allowing us to be able to cover what we want without having to bend a knee to YouTube itself or really anyone else, including sponsors. And I cannot credit enough how much that support means. And I got to thank everyone once again who throws in support, and I thank everyone who will be throwing in support later on tonight in advance. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, a lot of people were saying that backfired big time. And it did, because we turned out to actually be very scared of it. And they said, "Are you scared?" And we said no. So we kind of lied. But anyways, thank you very much for the support. And our next super chat is going to go to Praise Adonai, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much, Praise Adonai, for that support. They are a longtime channel viewer, and we do appreciate it very much. And they said, "We are all thankful for what you two have done for helping keep us informed for the past 20 months. And the other facet of your endeavor has helped so many in need in Ukraine, and I want everyone here to help you financially. Dig in LSA and support with dollar. Thank you."
And thank you so much for the kind praise, Praise Adonai, and thank you for the call to arms for the LSA. We never ask folks for, support, especially through super chats. We will, I will tell y'all this, I will not lie, we will absolutely badger the hell out of y'all on Sunday nights to support fundraisers, because it's a great cause and it does help out people, especially through the nonprofits that we support. But we never really ask for super chat support, because I don't really like the idea of, making every viewer feel like they're obligated to support the channel. But we, to be quite honest, we have seen that there has been a little decrease in super chat support over time, and it's something that does worry us a little bit, because we're always like, if it continues to drop, will we be able to even run the show anymore? But I do thank you so much, Praise Adonai, for that little call to arms and encouraging the LSA to support the channel. Of course, we can't, but it's greatly appreciated that you find it worthwhile to say that, and thank you so much for also appreciating this channel so greatly and what we've been doing. It's unbelievable to think that it's been 20 months. 20 months has flown by like it was nothing. And it's been a complete honor to know that we've been able to cover the news to so many of y'all over the course of, let me think, the course of 20 months, but over the course of so many different things. We covered the death of Queen Elizabeth. We've covered the war in Ukraine. We've covered what's been going on in the Middle East. We've covered what's been going on with Taiwan earlier on in the year when the situation was escalating. We covered a little bit of what was going on in Sudan. We've covered a little bit of things that have happened in the United States to an extremely small degree. And I've got to say, just it's amazing to think what we've all been through, the kind of news that we've covered, and it's incredible to know that folks like you, Praise Adonai, have been with us every single step of the way and have helped to support us, so that way we could end up making this a job. It's a bit of a dream of mine, being entirely honest, because Matthew can tell you, I always love to talk about this stuff. I used to talk about this stuff for free to people, and usually it was my family, like Matthew, and they usually got very annoyed because I just never stopped talking about this stuff and focusing on it. And so being able to do this as a job and have y'all support us where we can, make that possible and also cover this news, it's been a huge thing to me. Because this is honestly the funnest thing, as morbid as that may be, it is one of the funnest things and the most most honored things I've ever done in my life. The best way to describe it. And so thank you so much once again for that. It was kind words, Praise Adonai. Because not only is it, great to know that we're doing it, but it's also an amazing thing to me. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the final question of this segment, and then we're going to be moving on into the Middle Eastern news.
All right. And also, by the way, if anyone from YouTube just happens to be listening at any point in time, we would greatly appreciate it if y'all would please fix the polls, because they've been broken for at least a week or 2 weeks maybe. So please Fix it, please. You are getting 30% of the super chat, so please fix the polls. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from Dean London, longtime channel viewer as well, and thank you very much, Dean, for that support. They said for the Anti-DDoS Fund.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, and thank you for supporting the Anti-DDoS Fund. I gotta thank you for supporting that little, little foray right there. This is an important one. Of course, we end up getting attacked a pretty good bit. We haven't been attacked lately, thank the Lord, but every once in a while, we will end up going through a little DDoS attack here and there. I know that we're about to have experts pop in and tell us that we're not being DDoS attacked, because that's not possible. But we have been able to prove it in the past that we have been. We've actually seen that our connection gets throttled by someone using a VPN in the Netherlands, at least twice at this point. So we have been DDoS before, and I gotta thank you so much for supporting the DDoS Fund. We will use that to try and defend ourselves from a DDoS attack, but I don't know if we'll be able to succeed or not. It seems like we haven't really been able to so far, but the stream has luckily survived most of the attacks and just continued on afterwards. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, y'all know what time it is. It's time for us to move on into the next segment of news, which is the Middle Eastern news. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. There's been some action going on in southern Lebanon. Starting off, we got to see that the IDF targeted some Hezbollah forces in the area. And some of y'all are thinking, hey, wait a minute, this news segment wasn't talked about at all in the title and the description. And you're absolutely right. That's because while we are going to continue covering this news, we're also not really going to try and lead YouTube on to know that we're doing this. So y'all are getting the inside scoop. But here's the clip. We see the Israelis hit some kind of a Hezbollah compound there. And they hit it 3 more times. And wow, they're just peppering them. Call it salt and pepper. Because these Hezbollah forces are looking pretty, they're pretty spicy.
That's that cracked pepper.
Man, please don't be cracked. Please don't be cracked. You know that joke, Matthew? But anyways, moving on from that and into our next clip, we got to see a little bit of footage from the 7-Up guys. And let me see if I got this correct. I'm sorry. We got a little bit of an update, and I was correct, from the 7-Up guys. The reports that an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon has killed 6 Hezbollah members, including the son of Mohammed Raad, the head of the Hezbollah's parliamentary bloc, has been confirmed, according to Lebanese sources. Most importantly, take a look at that little parliamentary bloc part. That's a little bit of a political thing in Lebanon. That might start to change things in that area, but, a very interesting thing to observe. But we're going to be moving on out of the area of southern Lebanon and northern Israel, because there's been a lot going on outside of that. We've heard that the deal is off for the hostage exchange until Friday, and then it's going to begin on Friday. Once again, it's the same agreement as before. They're going to be transferring about 10 hostages per day over the 5-day ceasefire, according to Benjamin Netanyahu. And then Benjamin Netanyahu went on to say that while it is a sign of goodwill and faith to try and get the hostages out, he told Mossad that they were going to start icing mother effers out there on the street, and they're going to be going and looking for any Hezbollah or Hamas members and trying to take them out wherever they may be, whether they're inside of Israel, inside the West Bank, inside the Gaza Strip, in Turkey, Iran, wherever they may be. The Mossad is going to be going for all of them. So a little bit of mixed messaging there. In one part, he's saying, let's have a ceasefire and let's think about the people for a minute. And the other, he's going, you know what? Let's just take that to the wayside and let's go start assassinating the people who we are relying on for these people's safe release. So don't really know what the intent is here, but apparently Mossad is going to be getting a little bit down and jiggy with it like they were after World War II. Moving on from that and out of Tel Aviv, it's time for us to get into a little bit of combat action in the area of the city of Gaza. Starting off with our first bit, we got to see a clip around Jabalia that the Israelis are starting to pump seawater into the Hamas tunnels. Apparently, this is their way of drowning them out of the tunnels and making them unusable. we can see the giant industrial-sized seawater pump that they brought in to start funneling water right into the tunnel. And we can see the giant water hoses that will be sucking up the water and sending it on its way through the tunnel. And oh, look at that. They're starting to fill up. Oh, dude, right now Hamas is going, do you smell that? What? I smell water. And then they start hearing the sound of trickling. Oh, God! Man, that joke fell flat.
Man, I didn't know how to take it.
Man, Matthew was like, I don't even know how to process it. But I can see the seawater pumps doing their thing.
I was sitting there thinking, man, that must suck to get down there and that water starts rushing through the tunnels and you're trying to run from it.
Man, it's like the movie Titanic down there. But anyways, that's the end of the clip. It's going to be a little bit of an unfortunate day for the guys down in that tunnel. But on the bright side, you know, they got a couple of ingredients. Saltwater taffy, it's a reality. You know, you can make it down there in the tunnels. They got plenty of seawater. Just make saltwater taffy. It's pretty easy. But anyways, moving on from that and towards the Al-Shadi camp, we got to see that apparently a Merkava Mark IV was hit while involved in some actions near the area of the Jabalia camp, and it ended up setting off the blowout panels in the turret. Here's the clip. We can see the tank is moving out of the area, but we can also see the blowout panels venting the explosion of the ammunition out of the back of the turret. As the Merkava, steely-eyed, continues to fire. Look at that. It put off a shot even with the ammunition burning behind the blowout panels. What a hell of a move right there. A Chad move by that tank crew. And I gotta tell you, Matthew, that was a raw Sigma raw Sigma move right there. But
Alpha male.
Man, real Chad-like. But anyways, we can also see IDF forces once again along the shoreline. See them moving through the narrow alleyways. We now see them doing some building clearing. Oh! Oh! Gotta mention this for Hoodoo. It's a doobie.
Oh!
Mitsubishi material.
And then star shells. Ooh, get him! But anyways, we're going to be moving on from that clip and on into our next one, where we also got to see even more Israeli forces near the shoreline. There goes the Namer. And there goes the Merkava. And I hear a little firefight going on.
יש 6 צינורות, אני רואה את הצינורות. הוא עמוק, בריכה גדולה אבל. למה אתם עושים את זה למקום? עושה פוצע.
And with that, that's the end of the clip. But it is very nice to see Israeli forces still at work. Meanwhile, down in the area of the Al-Aqsa University, it appears that the Israeli Defense Forces ended up finding Hamas forces red-handed as they physically saw them exiting a tunnel. Here's the clip. Dude, these guys are like, man, we effed up real bad.
Threw a gun out like, don't.
Wait, let's see that again. Yeah, why in the world did it plant so hard onto the ground? It like went thunk. But anyways.
Seemed like you should have probably just left that in there and just crawled out without it.
Yeah, you know, I would have done that too, but he's not really that smart of a guy, you know. He is a Hamas fighter after all. But moving on from that little clip and our astute observations, we're now going to be moving. Well, damn, it's over. We're now going to be moving out of the Middle Eastern news segment because that's all we had, and it's now time for us to get up to Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 6.
Could I have some speech? Could I have a little bit of speech from Zelensky, please?
You can.
What was all of that?
Oh, that was all the video recommendations, man. I was sitting there today and I was looking, well, of course, while I was studying, of course, of course we have to study. But I was looking at this interesting show, apparently called The Boys, and it has nothing to do with The Boys. It was a very confusing show, but a very interesting one at that. Anyways, let me make sure to get our Ukrainian track, because we gotta get that Ukrainian mixtape, and we all know what time it is. It's time for the peach. Here we go.
Peach.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці і українки. Щойно говорив з новообраним президентом Аргентини Мілеєм про те, як зробити більш активними наші відносини України та Аргентини, України та Латинської Америки. Привітав пана Мілея з обранням, запросив його відвідати Україну, і це був би важливий сигнал небайдужості. Звичайно, я поінформував про все те, чого нам вже вдалося досягти в реалізації нашої формули миру, запропонував Аргентині проявити своє лідерство у спільних мироустановчих зусиллях. Сьогодні відбулось чергове засідання у форматі «Рамштайн», вже 17-те. Є й нові пакети підтримки України, наших воїнів. Це стосується і снарядів, і ракет, і РЕП, і дронів, і нових потужностей для нашої ППО. Створена відповідна коаліція розвитку ППО. Лідерами в її організації є Німеччина та Франція. Я дякую за таке лідерство. Дякую кожній країні, яка бере участь у цих зусиллях, у тому, що дає можливість нашим містам і селам бути більш захищеними від російських ударів. Поки не все можна розповідати публічно, але український повітряний щит стає сильніший буквально щомісяця. Найближчим часом очікую звіт міністра оборони Умєрова за результатами цього Рамштайну. Провів сьогодні нараду щодо нашої європейської та євроатлантичної інтеграції, те, що потрібно зробити зараз, до середини грудня, аби Євросоюз виконав свою обіцянку щодо початку переговорів з Україною у відповідь на наш прогрес, на виконання нами усіх рекомендацій Єврокомісії. А також на цій нараді обговорили і те, як ми рухаємось надалі у відносинах з НАТО в інтеграції в Альянс. Був доволі широкий склад учасників, всі сфери, які задіяні, усі наші інституції, від яких ми очікуємо активності, голова Верховної Ради України, глава уряду, профільний віце-прем'єр-міністр, міністр оборони, міністр закордонних справ, керівник офісу та профільні заступники, начальник Генерального штабу. Передусім обговорили питання щодо переходу наших сил оборони на стандарти НАТО у різних сферах, і багато що вже зроблено, але і закупівлі, і планування, і багато внутрішніх процедур заслуговують на модернізацію. Потрібні і кроки, яких зараз очікують наші воїни. Є й чітка налаштованість Міністерства оборони на відповідні рішення. Є й хороша, змістовна комунікація з партнерами в Альянсі. Ми дійсно спільно працюємо заради подальшого посилення нашої євроатлантичної спільноти. Щодо Євросоюзу, сьогодні погодили перелік заходів та кроків, які можуть додати необхідної єдності європейській спільноті. Більшість партнерів чітко бачать наш прогрес, повне виконання Україною всіх рекомендацій. Реалізовуємо зараз і те, що мали б реалізувати ближче до весни, згідно із погодженими планами. Кожен в ЄС має побачити, наскільки серйозно налаштована Україна, наскільки чітко ми виконуємо те, що потрібно. І ще одне. Сьогодні на звичному ранковому селекторі було кілька важливих доповідей. Робота нашого експортного коридору, позитивні результати, вже майже 5,5 мільйонів тонн вантажів. Африка, Азія, Європа від Іспанії до Китаю. Я дякую усім, хто захищає безпеку у Чорному морі, хто працює у наших портах. Були сьогодні доповіді військових щодо ситуації на передовій, на усіх тих напрямках, де зараз особливо важко. Куп'янський, Бахмутський, Авдіївський, Мар'їнський напрямки. Я дякую кожному нашому солдату, сержанту, офіцеру, чия стійкість зараз береже всю Україну. Кожному, хто потужно і хоробро знищує окупантів. Особливо варто відзначити за результатами цими днями 14-ту, 53-ю, 110-ту окремі механізовані бригади та 57-му і 59-ту окремі мотопіхотні бригади. Воїни, я пишаюся кожним з вас. Я дякую за вашу силу. Я дякую кожному і кожній в нашому суспільстві, хто допомагає силам оборони, хто працює заради того, щоб вся держава стала міцніше, і хто не забуває, що успіх України – це успіх саме народного спротиву, саме народного захисту, нашого максимального єднання заради оборони і волі для всієї України, для всіх українців. Кожен, хто додає Україні впевненості, кожен, хто додає Україні результатів, додає і гарантій нашій незалежності. Слава Україні!
And
Slava.
And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 637 of the news of the war in Ukraine. And with that, that begins the second segment of our stream. And it's the funnest. We get to talk to every single one of y'all. And I know that I say that every single night, but I do promise y'all, it is one of the more interesting parts of the show, at least to me, because a lot of y'all throw in some really interesting questions. And so, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so jumping back into our polls, our first one says, in the next weeks, will the Israeli war cause Iran to stop supplying Russia with arms? 41% said no, Iran will keep supporting Russia. 30% said yes, it will slow down shipments. 22% said, maybe, but I doubt it. And 8% said unsure. And on this one, I got to say that I really kind of doubt it, but it's very possible because I'm sure Iran is looking into the future and thinking that it needs to help keep supplying its proxies in the Middle East. And if they keep supplying Russia at the rate they're doing, they might not be able to basically, supply them all at the same time. So I'm with the 22%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say, whoa, what happened? Reread the line.
In the next weeks, will the Israeli war cause Iran to stop supplying Russia with arms?
Maybe. Who knows? Because we don't really know how many weapons the Iranians are able to produce at this moment, and we also don't know if the supply lines are completely separate. Like, for example, if they send one kind of a weapon to Russia, do they send any of that kind of weapon to Hezbollah or Hamas? We're not seeing any Shaheds right now at the moment. So that's a sign that they may not have to stop arms shipments or weapons deliveries to the Russians. They may be able to do both at the same time, at least to me. And so with that, hope that does address that fairly well. I know many of y'all can't see the polls. I'm very sorry about that. I see some of y'all talking about that in the chat. But of course, if you have a problem with that, I would take it up with YouTube because YouTube is always doing something a little funky. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next poll says Netanyahu. But anyways, this one says Netanyahu has ordered immediate elimination of Hamas leaders and are the hostages at risk. 43% said likely so, and that was unwise. 27% said likely not, it won't have an effect. 19% said I need more info first, and 11% said unsure. And on this one, I have to say that I think it is likely so that the hostages will be put at higher risk now. And I think that was very unwise by Netanyahu to do this at the time he chose. Knowing that they had just agreed to a ceasefire, I think it was kind of reckless to go ahead and order the elimination of all the top Hamas leaders, considering that's the folks he just got done negotiating with to create the ceasefire. So, to me, I think he should have held off until after the hostages actually got released, then put that order out, and then took them out. That seemed like the wiser thing to do. And I got to be honest here, I'm not sure what Netanyahu is trying to accomplish by playing so hardline like this. I understand the sentiment because Hamas is evil and they're terrorists and things like that. But also at the same time, you know, this doesn't do anything except serve a self-serving political purpose by looking like a tough guy, and he ends up putting lives at risk. I don't like that, and it looks like a decent amount of y'all don't like it either. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say it didn't really seem like that's more of an idea to me either, to broker a ceasefire agreement for the exchange of hostages to ensure their safety, and then at the same time possibly put them in even more danger by saying, let's kill the leaders that are in charge of holding them right now. That didn't really seem like a good move to me. And hopefully we don't see that backfires and hostages end up getting killed because of that. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, at least the best I can. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and with that being said, we are fresh out of polls once again. So we're moving back into our Super Chat questions, and there is no cap in that, no cap at all. And our first Super Chat question is going to go to Renee Love, who we called out earlier, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Renee, for that support. She says, Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll bring the green bean casserole.
Hey, green bean casserole, that's a good one. And I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And happy Thanksgiving to you as well. We're kind of debating whether we're going to be taking the day off tomorrow or not. And to be honest, we probably are. I'll put out an announcement though tomorrow to just let y'all know if we are or aren't. But we're thinking about taking the day off, but I thank you so much for bringing the green bean casserole, because I think that is a banger dish. Really, there's no dishes on Thanksgiving that are terrible. I think all of them are really good, in each their own special way. But still, thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. This is folks like you who make this thing possible. And thank you for taking the time to care about our channel and support it, so that way we can make everything possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Bernard Rubin, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you, Bernard, as well for that support. He says, Mom, can we have Tokyo Drift? And Mom says, we have Tokyo Drift at home. And Tokyo Drift at home, right here.
Man, dude, that typhoon be flipping. But still, thank you so much for the support, helping this channel to keep it running. I like the meme, I respect it, and it's a damn good one, especially with that video. Honestly, someone needs to meme that. Like, someone needs to get that clip and then meme it with that caption. I think that would be a great one. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be on air right now. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Marion Deemer, who puts in a $20 donation, and it goes without saying, Marion is a longtime channel viewer as well, and thank you very much, Marion. And they said, Happy Thanksgiving, and Christmas is just a heartbeat away, and then the year will be over. The older you get, the faster time flies. Hugs to all, LSA.
And thank you so much. Hugs to the LSA as well. And that's true. It does seem as though, I've got to be honest, after public school, it seems like time has flown, because it's crazy to think it's been 3 whole years since I graduated from high school. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what? Wait a minute, what? You graduated from high school 3 years ago? How old are you? I'm almost 22, still 21. But yeah, you know, it's crazy. Time has really flown since then. And it's especially flown since I've started doing this and covering this news. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. And thank you for the kind words as well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Terry Robinson, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, Terry, for that support. They said, thank you for continued coverage of the Israel-Hamas conflict.
I put it in reverse, Terry, and thank you so much for the support, Terry, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for enjoying our coverage enough to support it. One thing that I've got to say we greatly appreciate are the folks who do support the channel, because, you know, it's getting a little bit fewer and far in between. And I got to thank you so much for enjoying enough to help us to keep this channel running, because y'all support is the only way we're able to make it possible. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to George A., who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you, George, as well. He says, Ukraine has been lucky to have you, and please abide.
Please abide?
Abide.
Like abide, like A-B-I-D-E?
That's it.
What does he mean by that, man?
I don't know. Abide by what, though?
Abide
by Ukraine, I guess.
Oh, but anyways, thank you so much for the support, and thank you for enjoying this channel, and thank you for enjoying the efforts that not just we've been able to do for Ukraine, but all of y'all have been able to do. It's amazing to know that we were able to raise $9,064 for Revive Soldiers of Ukraine this last Sunday, and hopefully we'll be able to do something like that again here in the near future. But still, of course, thank you so much for helping this channel keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And many people always focus on our fundraisers, and some people support that only, and that's, you know, completely their decision. But I got to thank the folks who go out of their way to also support this channel as well, because without that support, we wouldn't really be able to make fundraisers or anything else possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to another longtime channel viewer, Hal Rose, who puts in a $33 donation. And Hal Rose, thank you very much for that support. And also, I've noticed over time, you always put in a 33, and I wonder if there's any significance to that number. But once again, thank you very much for that support. And it says, Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the Thanksgiving wishes, Hal Rose. I hope everyone else has a happy Thanksgiving as well. And thank you for wishing us a great one. Of course, it's going to be a good time tomorrow. We're going to be sitting around eating, probably hanging out, probably watching, I don't know, a movie. Really, honestly, I'm probably going to be down here, maybe studying, maybe watching something or playing a video game. But I still thank you so much for the support and wishing us a happy Thanksgiving. We wish the entire Lee Spring Army a happy Thanksgiving. We hope y'all have an amazing time tomorrow, hanging out with y'all's families, and being able to catch up on things, hopefully. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well, Hal Rose. And thank you for not only supporting our fundraisers and helping out folks in Ukraine, but also supporting this channel and helping us to make our fundraisers and our streams possible. While, you know, and I've got to say, it's kind of rough at this point to, you know, thank people for, I'm trying to figure out a good way to word this. It's really tough to, let's see, how do I word this? I'm trying to think, because it's something I've actually never really said on the channel before. But it's really tough to, you know, have our super chat support, you know, start to dwindle down to where we kind of have to question how this channel is going to go forward at this point. But nevertheless, we do thank everyone who supports the channel, because y'all are the only thing that is hanging us on by a thread that is making this possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, Hal Rose. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, who puts in a $10 super chat. And thank you very much, AMX10, for the support. He says, I thought Russia would focus all their attacking effort from the south, but instead they understood that this still wouldn't be enough to get Crimea's bridge out of range from being attacked in the future.
And I thank you so much for the support, and I would agree. I think they're still going for their Donetsk annexation ideas, because the offensive at Avdiivka and their little minor offensive at Kreminna, both are focused on angling towards taking the Donetsk Oblast. Once again, moving from Kreminna, they want to make it to Liman and then push into Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, and then from the area of Avdiivka, they're hoping to push forward towards Pokrovsk, and then also make sure to continue pushing forward towards the area of Kramatorsk from there. So I would agree with you. It does seem as though they're trying to work as best as they can with the situation at hand, but I think they understand at this point that no matter how far they push, they would have to push as far north as Dnipro at this point to get their supply lines out of Atakham's range, even on the coastline near Berdyansk and Mariupol. And so, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, and I hope we were able to address that fairly well. And Patrick is looking to get disappeared, Matthew. Go ahead and disappear that fella.
He's looking to see a magic trick. Well, the show is free. The magic trick is free. And the secret behind the magic may never be revealed, but it has something to do with a band hammer, I gotta say.
I've got to say. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Crazy Canuck, 1867, who puts in a $6 donation. And thank you very much, Crazy Canuck, for that support. They said the car in F didn't just combust, it flew in the air like Duke of Hazzard's after speeding down a boulevard at 100 miles per hour. And also, by the way, we have gotten confirmation that apparently there were no explosives in the vehicle, and one news outlet kept falsely reporting that, probably unintentionally, but it was not true, it turned out, and there were no explosives in the vehicle. Now, what that tells you is the person was either really distracted, or they intended to fly over and, do that intentionally. You can't say the word on purpose. So it's kind of interesting, but it looks like some people are reacting like it is a terrorist attack. Some people are acting like it's just an accident. The government response is very confused because now the Canadians are increasing their patrols, and New York is saying it's all good, it's a traffic accident. So I think they're a little bit confused. But Enforcer, what say you?
Very interesting developments. I think I'm probably going to wait until tomorrow to make sure that the story irons itself out well enough to then give an update. But still, thank you for sharing that with us on stream right now. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to DB, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, DB, for that support. And he does not leave a comment, but we do appreciate it very much. And we also have a 5 from DL, who says, thanks for all you do. And thank you, DL, for the support.
And thank you so much, DL, for helping the channel to keep on running as well. And thank you for enjoying enough to find it worthwhile to support. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Lord Althorn, who puts in a 5 and says, for your coverage of both Ukraine and Israel, take a live chat. Take it.
And take it easy, man, but take it. And so that, thank you so much for enjoying our dual coverage. And thank you for supporting this channel and helping it to be possible. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
And this one is going to go to Are You Scared from the live chat. He says, what about Iran? Do you think they'll attack?
Nah, I don't think they will. In like a physical way, no, not at all. But through their Iranian-backed terrorist groups, I think they certainly will strike, especially in the Middle East. But I don't know if they'll ever try and extend that into the United States itself, because many countries understand that that would require an official armed response by the United States in a place like the Middle East, so they may not want to go that far, or they could be stupid enough to do that, and then we get involved. But with that, I hope that does address that well, at least in my opinion, and thank you, DB, for sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we are on into the next one.
And the next one goes to M. Vitale, who puts in a 10 and says, thank you for being the shining light in this dark time.
And thank you so much, M. Vitale, for enjoying our optimism and enjoying our show, and also supporting it to make it possible. If it wasn't for folks like you, M. Vitale, we wouldn't be able to be on air at all. And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to George Tincher, who puts in a 5 and says, by the end of the weekend, let's see here. What does George say? George could be getting a little wild in out here. He said, by the end of the weekend, just the shadow of my ass will weigh 50 pounds after engorging on so much good food.
Dang. All right. Well, thank you for the support, and very interested to hear. Of course, I'm going to get a little larger. It sounds like you're planning on certain parts getting larger, but with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to CK Bold, who puts in a 5 and says, take a live chat question. And it's the regular. And we shall take a live chat. And it goes to Sax2, who says, the Sky News ticker tape says Putler has told a virtual meeting of the G20 that Russia is ready for peace talks in Ukraine. Is it really?
I haven't heard that, actually. I don't know if that's true or not. Of course, many news organizations are always out there not really saying the most truthful statements, so I would take it with a grain of salt. But I haven't heard about that at the moment, so I'd have to say no until I get more information. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Sick Lid, who puts in a 5. And thank you, Sick Lid, for that support. They said aloe vera juice is a great laxative. I'm telling you, I've just started drinking the stuff, so it tastes good. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I would thank you for the support and sharing that with me. I didn't know that, but the stuff does taste pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It has a lot of sugar in it, though. It's like 50 something grams of sugar. It's crazy. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is gonna go to Green Eyed Girl, who puts in a 5 and says, Happy Thanksgiving. And happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
And thank you so much for the support, Green Eyed Girl, and helping this channel to keep on running. And happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I hope you have a fun one tomorrow, because we will hopefully be having a fun one ourselves. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is going to go to James Dunn, who puts in a 5. And he says, what's your opinion on the blown up dam? And how will that affect the war now that the lake has dried up?
It hasn't really affected it much. It's been a thing for about 6 months at this point, and we haven't really seen it change a lot of what the war is looking like at the moment. So I'd have to be entirely honest with you. I don't really think it had as much of an impact as many people thought. It did have a massive humanitarian impact, though, downstream of it on the Dnieper River, but that's also subsided at this point and has completely disappeared as an issue. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And John Ramondi throws in a 5 and says, need polls of your favorite Thanksgiving Day foods, Matt, please, for funnies. And we could create a poll about that. We could. In fact, I'll throw one up while we're talking about our next one. But thank you very much, John, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much for the support, John. And you know what? We will ask. We can only get 4 options up, but we will throw up 4 of them, and we'll see what wins. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Keymaster, who puts in a 5 and does not leave a comment. But thank you, Keymaster, very much for that support. We also have a 5 from Ron Wolfson, who says, I think we need a $5 Friday, or we may not have a donation night.
And I thank you for the support. I'm never going to revolve, people giving us super chats as to whether we'll have Sunday fundraisers or not. But yeah, hopefully I'm misunderstanding that. I think I actually am. But I do thank you for the idea of wanting folks to support this channel, because, while it just sounds like a catchphrase at this point for us to say, it's thanks to folks like y'all help this channel to keep on running, it's actually a serious thing because we don't monetize any other way. We're not like other channels where we get magic AdSense money or magic sponsor money, in the background. It's entirely all up front and through the viewers. And so I got to thank you so much for supporting the channel and coming up with an interesting idea. But I don't think we would ever do that. And I also don't ever want to, try and make people feel like they're forced to support the channel. Of course, I'm not going to lie, Super Chat support has dropped and, it's starting to be a little bit of a harder time behind the scenes trying to, figure out if this is going to continuously drop because it has been for the past few months. But nevertheless, it's something we're trying to work with in the background. Honestly, though, if push came to shove, we were probably just going to take the premise that I originally took at the beginning. If we don't get Super Chat support, the channel is probably just going to end, and we're probably going to have to find other jobs or something along those lines because we have to pay bills. No one's paying our bills for us. So, we have to figure that out. But still, thank you so much once again for supporting the idea. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and while that Thanksgiving food poll is running, we have another Super Chat. This one is from Ed, who throws in a 1301 Super Chat. And thank you very much, Ed, for that support. Hey! He says, hey, Irish Ed from Pennsylvania. Happy Thanksgiving to the Enforcers and all the LSA. And I'm thankful that I found the channel. We're all family here. So no politics during Thanksgiving dinner. And LOL, and love y'all.
And thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for wishing us a happy Thanksgiving, Ed. Of course, it means a lot to us. We love Thanksgiving, and we're always thankful for something. We're thankful for the Lee Spring Army. And so, thank you so much once again. And also, thank you for enjoying this channel so much and finding it worthwhile to be here. It means a lot to me. And of course, we also have no politics at all. And so, hopefully, we will be having no politics during the Lee Spring Army Thanksgiving dinners. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a Super Chat from Butchie777, who threw in a 50-pound donation. Huge shout out to you, Butchie, very much for that massive support. 50 pounds, very heavy. I always have to make that joke. But anyways, they said, gotta keep you guys on the air. News, history lessons, sarcasm, and rabbit holes. And happy Thanksgiving. And I hope the corgis will get some turkey. And please take a succulent live chat.
And thank you so much for the support, Butchie777. And thank you for wanting to help to keep us on air. And thank you for enjoying all of the aspects of our channel that is really unique to us at this point. And also, the corgis might get turkey. I'm thinking about that. They usually get like the deli turkey. I think we might give them some actual proper turkey off the plate. But still, thank you so much, Butchie777, for the massive amount of support and helping this channel to keep on running. I've got to say, if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep the channel running and we wouldn't be able to pay all the bills we do. A lot of stupid people out there want to make it sound like because our dad is, well off, we must be well off. No, we don't live off of daddy's money. We actually pay daddy money to live in the basement. So, it's not really an easy thing to, have people attack our channel like that and then watch Super Chat support dry up when we have to support ourselves. That really does irk me a really exceptional way. But let's get a live chat.
All right, and the live chat question is going to go to Anthony Wilson. Anthony Wilson. He says, do you think the Russians leave the heavy armor behind and put tracking devices in them?
Nah,
Tracking.
that's something that was talked about at the very beginning of the war and never turned out to be true. And if they weren't doing it back then, they're certainly still not doing it now, because we've never seen that actually been proven. So with that, I hope that does address that well, and thank you so much, Butchie777, for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Bonsai Bob, who puts in a 2 and says, I tagged you on X on a video better of the car. And Bonsai Bob, I will check that out after the stream and see, because we'll have to cover that tomorrow if we get more news on it, and we will definitely be sure to check it out. And thank you for the support as well. And with that, we are moving on to our next super chat, which goes to AM. And that's the morning time. And they put in a $25 donation. Thank you very much for the support, all jokes aside. They said, Happy Thanksgiving. Great job as always, and to stay on air.
And thank you so much for the support, AM, and helping the channel to keep on running. And thank you for putting some support into the Stay on Air Fund. And thank you for enjoying the work we do. We try our best. Hopefully it reflects in our efforts, considering that we're, usually going to law school in the background nonstop, or college or something. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving as well.
Indeed. And real quick, to go over the poll, favorite Thanksgiving food, it looks like 43% is turkey and cranberry, 28% said stuffing. Give me the stuffing. 18% said mashed potato, and 10% said sweet potato casserole. I'm with the 43%. I think turkey and cranberry is the best. Excuse me. The cranberry sauce with the turkey is excellent. And wow. But anyways, Enforcer, what say you?
I would say I would actually have to be a stuffing fan. I would have to go for the 28% that said that.
Man,
love
you want
stuffing.
the stuffing.
Man, I want that dressing. But I love the dressing. I think the dressing is the best stuff on the plate. But, turkey and cranberry is a close second to me, but I'm just a huge fan of dressing. And so with that, hope that does address that well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we are now moving into our live chat questions. And up first, of course, we have the Morse code decoders of the stream. Tonight, we had the roster: Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J, Rumpelstiltskin, and Toxic Bananas. Those bananas are toxic, I'm telling you. No. They said, LSAers, tonight's Morse code cipher is, let Russia give it up for themselves, because they are too dumb to quit. Long live the LSA.
And that's the sound of money, and y'all got that Morse code message dead on the nail. That was the message of the night. I got to thank y'all for getting that correct for nearly 637 days straight of the war, and it's amazing to think that y'all nearly decoded every single Morse code message that's ever been put up on air. And so with that, thank you so much once again for always doing that. It's an impressive skill y'all have. And with that, we are going on into the live chats proper. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and our first one is going to go to Wandering, who says, is Russia using the Ukraine war for a secondary reason, a stealth eugenics recruiting and drafting minorities of Russia, and is Russia trying to make Russia more ethnic Russian?
I think that's a little bit too out there for me to really, say yes to. That I've got to be honest, that's like one of those things where they go, look, it's Goldman Sachs, they're running the world's weather. It kind of sounds like that. I don't really think so. I think it's just that a lot of those parts of the country are poor, so they have less of a say in things, and so they usually recruit from there just for that reason. But who knows? I don't mean to bash it too badly. That may be a possibility. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And we also got another super chat. This time it's from Wyatt Logan, who puts in a $2 donation. And thank you, Wyatt, for the support. And he says, thank you guys for everything you do.
And thank you so much, Wyatt, for enjoying everything we do. And thank you for supporting us. That way we can continue to do what we do. If it wasn't for folks like y'all who supported us in the live chat through the super chats, we wouldn't be able to continuously work day and night on this stuff outside of law school to be able to make this possible. I've got to just thank y'all greatly for that, because I can't say it enough. If it wasn't for y'all's support, we wouldn't be able to make this possible. And so with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that well, and we are back into the live chats.
And Leonce Pierre said, admit it, you guys are going to be in a turkey coma. And probably so, because that is always what happens after you eat turkey. I don't know what it is about Thanksgiving turkey. It puts you in a coma. You feel like you want to go to sleep afterward. But we can't sleep. No sleep. Just study. But anyways, with that being said, we're moving on to our next live chat question, which goes to M. Vitale, who says, as Avdiivka has been under siege for quite some time, and visually, it looks very likely that they're going to completely encircle it, will Ukraine try to reinforce Avdiivka soon?
It looks like they've already reinforced Avdiivka with the 47th Brigade and several others that are currently fighting in the area of Krasnoyarivka, and I don't think, based off of the combat actions we've seen over the past week and a half, that it is evident that the Russians are going to be encircling Avdiivka. For the most part, their offensive is completely stopped dead in its tracks, and here we go, over the past 7 days, this is what the offensive has looked like. This is the 15th, and as we progress forward, you can see that practically no frontline advances have been made of note. And so if they were to encircle Avdiivka at this going rate, it would probably take them another 5 months to do anything like that. So I would say they're not going to be encircled, and the Ukrainians have already reinforced the city at this point. And so with that, hope that does address that well, and we are on to the next one.
And up next, huge shout out to Hoodoo Texas, longtime channel viewer. He put in a $20 super chat. And thank you very much, Hoodoo, very much for that support. He says, a Thanksgiving dinner is a symphony of flavor.
There's nothing in the world that can compare to a hamburger, juicy and rare. I don't know what made me think of that. I was like, symphony of flavor. I was like, that sounds like a thing Wimpy would say. But I gotta agree with you, Hoodoo Texas. Thanksgiving dinner is a symphony of flavors. The dinner rolls, the dressing, the cranberry sauce, the turkey, the ham, the green bean casseroles, the sweet potato casseroles, all of the casseroles, all of them. Oh man, I'm telling you, oh man, I get a respect around here. Oh man, when I went to Thanksgiving dinner, they dressed me up and shot me. Oh man, I'm telling you, they were trying to treat me like Thanksgiving turkey. Oh man. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Hoodoo Texas. And I would agree with you, Thanksgiving dinners are a symphony of flavor. And so with that, thank you once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jason Kozlow, who says, Enforcer, pro-Russians claim the West controls Ukraine because it helps Ukraine arms. Does that mean that Russia's masters are North Korea and Iran?
No. Well, actually, based off of that logic, the Russians are using on the West, yes, they would be, because they're supplying arms to the Russians. But in any logical sense, that makes no sense at all. And that's what I was originally working off. And then I was like, wait, no, that's actually what they're asking. How little sense does that make? And it makes no sense at all. Because the Iranians and the North Koreans are economically worse off than the Russians by major margins, yet they are supplying weapons to them, and by the Russian logic, that means that those countries would be their overlords, and they're clearly not. But with that, I hope that does address that well, and thank you for throwing in a really good introspective question there. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and sadly, we are on to our last question of the night. We have one question left in the spreadsheet, so Enforcer, would you like to do the thing?
And so we are on to our final question of the night. And so, who was the lucky last person who threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Tank2, who says, did you see Shoigu report Ukrainian losses yesterday? He said that they destroyed 13,000 troops and 1,800 pieces of armor this week. His own people looked embarrassed.
No, I didn't see that, and that is absolutely insane to suggest numbers like that. I don't even know. Ukrainian numbers aren't even getting that close to being that high. I think they're like at like 8,000 a week at this point, but not 13,000. I mean, hell, the Russians would be destroying the Ukrainian army with them taking 13,000 losses a week. The Ukrainian army wouldn't exist by the end of a few months. So that is insane. I haven't heard that. Thank you for sharing that with me, because that's mind-blowing to even think that they try and push something like that. It's completely unrealistic. But with that, we actually have a couple of more super chats to cover. I think we have 2 of them. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Zero J Kwan, who puts in a $20 donation. And big shout out to Zero J Kwan as well, who's always supported the channel. And thank you very much for that support once again. He says, Enforcer, why does Putin keep dragging this on? There hasn't been much offensive attack since late summer. And will Ukraine's offensive with F-16 be the final game changer? Happy Thanksgiving and good luck with law school.
And thank you so much for the support, Zero Jaquan, and thank you for asking the questions that matter. Putin is dragging this on because there is a huge strategic implication that the Russians are looking at, that they may lose the warm water port of Sevastopol inside of Crimea. And that's why they continue to push the thing on as fervently as they are. So I hope that answers the first question well. And let's see, there hasn't been much of an offensive attack since late summer. And that's true. The Russians have tried to conduct some in Kremenna and Avdiivka, and also a very minor one that happened for a short while near Volodar, but none of those have turned out to be successful enough to really even count as meaningful offensive activities by either side. So I hope that does address that part well. And then moving on into the last part, will Ukraine's offensive with the F-16 be the final game changer? I think the F-16 is certainly going to be helping the Ukrainian forces, but I don't really know if it's going to be a game changer yet. If it's able to conduct seed missions effectively, then it certainly will be a game changer. But if it can't really do that too well, and the Russians are able to still contest the air superiority with their air defense systems, then we might see that the war continues to go on like it is right now. So with that, I hope that addresses all three parts of that question well, and thank you so much for the wishes for a happy Thanksgiving. We wish you a happy Thanksgiving too, and thank you for also hoping that we will have success in law school. I'm hoping that we will. Matthew and me are trying to study as best we can to be ready for those finals, and hopefully when the time comes around for the finals, we will be lock, stock, and barrel, ready to go and ready to make a B or a C or something like that. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, I think we're on to the final super chat of the night.
And this one goes to Ed once again, who throws in a $5 donation. He says, Irish Ed here again. He said, I forgot to tell y'all, if you need a turkey drum, just call Erdogan.
That's a good one. Thank you so much for the support and helping this channel keep on running. I respect it. That's one of the dad jokes that I put out on a stream. I like it. And thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And I'd also like to thank Gabriel Hernandez Photography for putting in a 5, because you too are helping this channel to keep on running. And I thank you so much for the support and finding this channel worthwhile to support with your hard-earned dollars, because it means a lot to us. And so with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching. If you have enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. You know, YouTube isn't really pushing us to new people anyways. But, you know, if you're new somehow, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like and comment as well, because that helps the channel to keep on running. And with that, good night, good luck, stay safe, take care. Slava Ukraini, God bless Israel, God bless the United States, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And good night, folks. We'll see you all tomorrow like usual. And, of course, Slava Ukraine, Slava Israel, and good night.
I don't know if they're seeing us tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Well, good night, everyone.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.